Hitmen are possibly some of my favorite characters in media. They allow the audience to try and peer into the minds of psychopaths and how they function in day-to-day life. The existence of a hitman in your story allows for great interactions and development for them and other characters. The trope acts as a mental playground for an author, meaning that they can go to great lengths in order to make up backstories, personalities, character traits, etc. Another great thing about these types of characters is seeing how they interact with the world. When it comes to doing their job, hitmen are usually portrayed as either mastering multiple skills or at least being experts in them. Seeing them interact with people and objects can either allow them to look cool for the audience or purposefully be made out to seem disturbing, making an audience member uncomfortable and forcing tense and awkward situations. However, all the hitmen I have shown so far all have one trait in common with each other: they're all human. At least appearing normal grounds them in reality and makes them look less suspicious in crowds. But what happens when you take that feature away from them? What happens when a psychopathic hitman loses both their physical and mental humanity? You play as a marksman, the Grim Reaper. Your employer isn't another person or organization, but rather an entity simply known as the Flames. You have a big comfy chair that you sit in, and when you do, the fireplace lights up and the flames give you your next mission. The Reaper always has two ever-present goals until the very end of the game. 1. Help the undead towards the afterlife, usually by doing what a Reaper is best at. 2. Follow the orders of whatever the fireplace tells you. Personally, I really like this, as it gives the player some much needed downtime in between missions, allowing you to inspect stuff, look around, and relax. The room also looks nice. Interestingly enough, Deadbolt also has a story, which I'll talk about here and there. Apart from being a Doom 2 reference, it serves as a tutorial that works for what it's trying to achieve, which is to teach a player the basic essentials needed to survive. Move, melee, throw, shoot. We're introduced to another type of enemy, the bully. Unlike the previous zombies we have seen so far, this type of enemy doesn't have a ranged weapon, but they try to make up for it with a melee weapon and being extra aggressive. From here on out, things start to pick up, and in the best way possible. You see, games like this have one motto: live fast, die fast, meaning that your character dies in one hit and can try again in mere seconds. This also means that you can take a lot more risks during gameplay without feeling frustration, because in the worst case scenario you lose a few seconds of progress and that's it. This works in massive favor of the gameplay. 1 second you're playing stealthily as you're about to assassinate a zombie pimp, and the next you're frantically trying to kill the horde of zombies coming directly to your location. At some point, you start to only go for headshots, which is good since it heightens the skill ceiling. There's quite an arsenal here, however, some maps are clearly better than others. You don't have reserve ammo stored up your ass. Once the clip is empty, it's empty. I actually really like this, it works well for gameplay. You're forced to be resourceful. Sure, a strong powerful weapon like the grenade launcher is nice, but is it good enough to warrant dropping a gun with 14 bullets in it? You only have enough space to hold 2 weapons. Remember, shoving them up your ass isn't an option. There's also melee weapons, which can be used for bashing. But most of the time, you'll be throwing them at enemies. Either the hammer or knife makes for a great secondary to your arsenal, because they can quickly dispatch enemies in the event that your main weapon happens to run out of ammo. Not to mention the throwing attack one-shots most enemies. There's also the sledgehammer, which is a very slow and very powerful weapon, killing anything whilst also having good range. I wouldn't rely too much on it though, as I mentioned, it's slow. My personal favorite gun is the default one, the .32 revolver. It's accurate, powerful, and holds 6 bullets. You can get alternate weapons by going to the Charon. After you complete a level, you get souls, which you can give to a Charon in exchange for weapons. By doing this, you can unlock death and taxes, an alternative to the .32 revolver. Some people prefer this due to a high fire rate and number of bullets, but the low accuracy leads me to using the .32 revolver much more often. I find it more reliable. If you manage to save up to 100 souls, you can buy the Scythe, which has great range for a melee weapon, does good damage and attacks quickly. Deadbolt also has a great gunplay system. In this case, the gunplay includes the melee weapons. The controls make fighting intense, yet fluid and sensible. Your weapon inaccuracy is represented by the size of your crosshair, a feature which I love. This means you can account for the inaccuracy or take your chances with the shot. The stealth mechanics implemented also complement the game very well. This is meant. I genuinely have no idea how it's supposed to work, but the Reaper used a lighter to, I don't know, turn himself into a gas or something, which allows him to travel through vents. This also works with pipes and other similar things, allowing you to stuff yourself inside a sewer and come out of the toilet at the other end like a goblin. This is great, and gives you some choices how you want to deal with a level. Do you want to sneak in through the back, or do you want to ambush every enemy in the middle of the room? Well, it's your choice, which I love. It also serves as a breathing room and a possible escape route. The Reaper dies in one shot from pretty much everything, so you can use the vent to escape to a safer room and recoup. Or give yourself some time to plan things through before coming back and cleaning up the mess. The chaotic shooting combined with spy-like sneaking creates a tough, yet still engaging and overall very fun combat loop. The Charon further adds to his combat loop through what he sells. Whenever you buy something from him, you can access it at the start of the level by opening the boot of your car. Depending on how you kill an enemy, it can be incredibly gory. Blood, limbs, physics, the whole hog. The fat guys have more hefty limbs, so the physics engine acts accordingly. But don't forget, the laws of physics also apply to melee weapons. Now that I've given you a basic overview, it's time we discuss the story. As I've already mentioned, you're the Grim Reaper. Your employer is the mysterious entity known as the Flames. The Flames speak in riddles, and the synopsis of the mission is given by the Reaper himself in first person. First types of enemies you have to fight are the zombies. Zombies are people who are human in life, but upon dying from drug overdoses, transformed into the undead. Among the zombies, they have a gang called the Zombie Kings, in which they sell ash, a drug that makes you feel alive again. As the Reaper, you get ordered to take out prominent members in the faction, such as the accountant, Puff, and the leader, Roland. Due to the Reaper's actions, the faction is forced to disband. During the next batch of levels, you face vampires. Among the vampires are the 1000-year Royals, which is the vampire equivalent of the Zombie Kings. Their arc reveals more about the Ash and the people running the operation. The third and final batch of levels has skeletons, referred to as the Dredged. This is easily where the game peaks for me. Earlier, the game mechanics were clicking together like a simple lock and key system, but now the game mechanics are working perfectly together, more like a complicated engine where the previous gear helps the next. The Dredged are skeletons that seek the land of warmth. The most important skeletons in this faction are Timur the Tinkerer, a genius scientist, and Ibzan, the leader. The Dredged are responsible for the horrible events that happen throughout the game, because they manipulated the Zombie Kings and the Royals into doing dirty work like harvesting creatures in order to collect ash. The end goal of the Dredged is to build a corpse portal to a land of warmth, which they end up doing successfully. Now we must follow them through the portal. In this excellent final level, we make our way down to talk to the true form of the flames. The flames no longer speak in riddles like earlier, but clear, legible sentences. After you finish talking to the flames, Ibzan appears, the leader of the Dredged. As you slowly but surely wither away his health, he tries to stop you, but eventually you get him. As he dies, he talks about feeling warm, so I guess in a way he got his wish. When you come back to the flames, you sit down to do another mission, but they insist that we've worked hard enough and that it's time for a rest. For such a small scale game, it actually managed to keep me interested in the gameplay and story the entire time. No 20-minute cutscenes with minimal player interaction, just small bits of dialogue and a bit of downtime in between levels in the form of the flames and the Charon. Deadbolt had a consistent tone and atmosphere throughout the entire experience, which was enhanced by the music. The music shifts genres and emotions per song, but I would describe it as a mixture of unsettling, creepy, catchy, funky, and EDM. The final boss theme is genuinely beautiful, especially considering Ibzan's true nature, which I won't reveal here, because I want you to go out and experience the moment for yourself and figure out the pieces for yourself. Nothing I've said here has managed to do the game justice. I encourage all of you to go on either Steam or GOG and purchase a copy for yourself, and I also encourage you to support the creator of the OST on Bandcamp. Deadbolt allowed me to experience highly fun gameplay along with one of the best game soundtracks I've ever heard. I like Risk of Rain 1 and 2, but I think that overall, Deadbolt is the best Hoppu game.